Hey everybody, what's going on? It is James here with Crypto Quick Start and wanted to shoot a video today regarding the price movement with Bitcoin in the market in general following the delay on the ETF stuff. So, obviously as somebody that has money invested in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, it's always easy to look at the market through rose-colored goggles. You're looking and you've got all this bias toward what you're seeing in the chart. So sometimes you're looking at a chart and you may see some bearish signs, but you convince yourself they're not there so that you don't, miss out. That fear of missing out kicks in. And a perfect example of that is I actually called this drop a few weeks ago in my private group. I actually saw it. It was forming an Elliott wave. I don't know if I have a chart pulled up of it anymore. But anyway, I called this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And this is all relevant to the video. If we look at this, if I can find my Elliott wave stuff. All right. So this was a pretty obvious wave. I'm just going to draw it real quick so it won't be perfect. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't see it there. But what I did see was the correction wave. So we came down from this $8,500 top down to about $7,800, and then we bounced back up. And right here at B is when I actually posted this in my private group, and I told them, hey, it looks like an Elliott wave. We're probably going to head down to about 6,800 from there. But the thing is I wanted to be bullish, right? I wanted to be bullish because I have a lot of money tied up in cryptocurrency, and so I didn't take that trade, meaning I didn't sell my Bitcoin or any of my other coins. Instead, I just held on to them, and I hoped that I was wrong. And in fact, I drew a second wave telling people, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be up here. But I didn't really think that, and I let my emotions get involved, and I let my FOMO get involved, and because of it, I didn't sell. And if I had sold, I could have sold up here at 80. I probably wouldn't have got 8,300. I probably would have sold around 8,200 after I felt like it was confirmed. And I probably would have bought back at 6,800. So I'd still be down because Bitcoin's down to 6,580. But that's a pretty big deal, right? It's 8,200 minus 6,700. It's about $1,500 savings per Bitcoin. And then you add in some of the other coins like Litecoin and things I'm holding, and it ends up being a big deal. But again, we look at things through rose-colored goggles, and we see things that are bearish and we just ignore them. Well, after taking a beating, just an absolute beating this year on my whole portfolio. I've done fairly well trading, but my whole portfolio, like everybody's, is just absolutely thrashed. I'm down about 70%. My whole portfolio down from, at one point I had over 1,000% gains. Now I'm down to 31% gains on my whole portfolio. It's just, and if you're wondering how that happened, it's because when Bitcoin dropped to 10 grand, I bought more of it. When it dropped to 9 grand, I bought more of it. When it dropped to 7,700, I bought more of it. In 2017, you bought the dips and got rich. Well, in 2018, buying the dips is nothing but catching falling knives. So as a result of that, I ended 2017 with absolutely no money in play other than profit. I had taken all of my money out. And in 2018, I actually invested about 6 months worth of salary into cryptocurrency, and I was wrong. It didn't go back up. So I'm down huge on that. As a result, it's pulled my whole portfolio down. But when I take the rose-colored goggles off and I look at this chart, this is what I'm actually seeing. People are not going to like this, but this is what I'm seeing. And I'm going to tell you there's pros and cons to this. I'm also going to tell you that nobody can predict the future, especially not me. Anybody that tells you they can predict where the market's going is delusional. Okay? Let's just get that out there. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But this is what I'm seeing from an unbiased point of view. So we had this 51-day period from the high until the next rally, and we dropped 70%. Then we had another 51-day period from the high to the next rally, and we dropped 45%. Then we had a 51-day period from the high to the next, right here we actually consolidated a little bit. It wasn't exactly 51 days before we rallied. We dropped 42%. Okay. We rallied back here. About 7,700 was the trend line that I was looking for. I thought if we broke that would be a good sign. If we could close above it, that maybe we were finally out of this bear market. But I wasn't convinced. I didn't buy more Bitcoin in the breakout. I was just holding. I'm not buying any Bitcoin at $7,000-$8,000 levels. I'm just not. I'm not buying any 6,000 either. Right? Some people are saying 6,000 at the bottom. Some people are saying 5,000 at the bottom. I'm not buying any Bitcoin at those levels. It could be the bottom, and I hope it's the bottom. Okay? But I'm not buying any more Bitcoin until I think it's absolutely the bottom. So anyway, this broke out. It failed. We came back down. We're back inside this, trend line that started way back in January. And if you look at this, if we drop, the high was right around $8,500. If we go 51 days and we drop, that's going to put us down around $4,900. And guess what? At 51 days, it ends on September 13th, 2018. And the ETF decision was delayed until September 30th. So that gives us about 17 days where we could have a little mini rally. And this is what I think is going to happen. This is my prediction. I think we're going to drop down to about $5,000. Somewhere in this, box would hit $5,000. Maybe we'll consolidate a little bit. And then in early September, second week of September, I think the news will start coming out and we'll start getting the FOMO about, hey, the ETFs are coming up on the 30th. I think we'll have a little rally. We'll rally back up to maybe 6,000, 6,500 even. I think they will probably get delayed again or even denied. And I think this thing is going to go crashing down 51 days all the way to about $3,500 is my guess. All right. A minus 42% drop in this box would put us at 33.51 at the end of November. And if you look at that, that's about an 83% drop from the all-time high for Bitcoin. Okay. If you go back and look at the 2014 bear market, it lasted roughly a year. Now, it didn't make new highs. Everybody seems to leave this part out. It dropped for about a year, and then it consolidated, and it didn't make new highs for about 2 more years after that. So it was about a 3-year period. But the bear market itself lasted about a year. So if this ends in November, then that would put us at about 11 months, fairly close to the last major bear market, and it would put us down 83%. Well, I don't know the exact price that Bitcoin got to in the last bear market, but we can find out. All right, so here we are back in 2013, got up to 8, 9. I want to say it was around $1,100. I'm gonna have to zoom in a little bit so we can get the actual price. Change this to 15. That should do it. Well, it didn't change the date. That was interesting. Thank you, CoinMarketCap. All right, so it topped out $11.49. Okay, so $11.49 times 17%. That'd be an 83% drop. $195. It bottomed out in January of 2015. About 13 months later. And I'm having trouble getting it to show up on this, but I can tell you what it was. It was 195. 197. Okay, 197. All right, so 197 divided by 11, what did I say, 1194? 1149. So it dropped 83%. And that was the bottom, and it took about 13 months to get there. If we go back and look at the chart that I drew up on Coinigy, if it drops to 33.51, it would be 11 months, and it would be an 83% drop. There's a lot of really smart people saying that 3,000 to 3,500 is the bottom. I didn't want to believe that all year. I kept hope alive, hope alive. I agree with them. I think that we probably will go back down to $3,000 to $3,500, which means that my portfolio that was once up over 1,000%. In fact, at one point I was up about 1,400%. When we get to that level, if we get to that level, my portfolio will be negative about 40%. So I will go from being up 1,400% to being down about 40%. And that is a very tough pill to swallow. It's very depressing. It's distressing. It's made 2018 one of the worst years emotionally of my life. Even though business has been good, obviously I still have my software company that deals with a couple different cryptocurrency software products, but it's been, a nightmare, and I'm sure it has for you as well. So I started to try to think of, how can I look at this as a positive? There's got to be some silver lining to the situation, and I think there is. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not a buyer at $6,000. I'm not a buyer at $5,000. I'm not a buyer at $4,000. Right? If I miss the bottom, I have no problem with that. I'm not chasing the bottom anymore. I'm not catching any more falling knives. And perhaps that's one of the lessons that, you know, long-term investors understand. And, you know, all of us newbie crypto investors kept saying, oh, you know, falling knives, you know, just buy the dip, buy the dip. Well, I think that was naive. And I think that a lot of us learned the hard way that buying a dip only works in a bull market. In a bear market, buying the dip is nothing more than catching knives. So here's the positive to this. A lot of us who were involved with this in 2017 or before, when this thing ran up like this, we regretted not owning more Bitcoin, and we wish we had bought more Bitcoin, and we wish we had bought more Litecoin, and wish we had bought more coins. Well, for me, if this thing is down to $3,500, I'm a buyer, and I plan on doubling all of my investments. Now, that doesn't mean doubling the amount of money that I have invested. It means doubling the amount of coins I have. So, for example, and I'm not going to tell you what I have, but let's just say for easy math, I have 1 Bitcoin, then I would buy 1 more Bitcoin at this level. If I had 5 Litecoin, I would buy 5 more Litecoin when we get to these levels, etc. And if it continues to go down and goes to 0, then obviously I'll lose even more money. But I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that we're going to repeat the old cycle. I think we'll find a bottom down around the 83% level, and I think we'll start going back up. I don't know that we'll go back up as fast as people think we will. You know, people are saying, oh, we'll be at 40,000 by 2019, we'll be at 100,000 by 2020, yada, yada. You know what? I hope we are. I do. I hope we are. That would be great. Maybe I could retire before the age of 40. But realistically, the last time that we dropped, if you look at CoinMarketCap, let's go ahead and look at all. January of 2015 is where the dropping stopped, and we didn't break new highs until March of 2017, which was more than 2 years. All right, so if we look at that, if we figure that we're going to get done dropping probably November, December this year, it's very likely that it'll be the fourth quarter of 2020 before we see new, you know, not even new highs. We're talking about old highs, right? We're talking about the $20,000 level. So who knows, right? Who knows? But I do believe that within 2 to 5 years that we'll see not only the old levels, but new levels as well. So for me, that's the positive that I've drawn from this. I'm going to be able to load up on coins. Obviously, I'm not going to invest anything I can't afford to lose, but I'm going to be loading up on coins and dollar cost averaging. You know, if you bought 1 Bitcoin at $20,000 and you buy 1 more Bitcoin at $500, you've dropped your dollar cost average down to about 11.5 per Bitcoin. And if you maybe bought 1 Bitcoin at 10 grand and you buy another one at 3,300, you've dropped your dollar cost average down to 6,500. So I think this is an opportunity. You know, if you were smart, if you were involved in 2017, maybe you made some money. If you've been involved in 2018, hopefully you've taken the opportunity to learn about the market. You've taken the opportunity to learn about, how to trade. You know, that way you can spot things like Fibonacci levels. You can spot, you understand how to use RSI. You understand how price action works and moving averages and all the different indicators. And if so, you'll be prepped and prepared for the next bull market to make an absolute killing. So there's the bright spot in all this. I'm not going to sell any of my whole portfolio, and I'll tell you why right now. Is even though I think it's going to lose half its value over the next 4 months, there's always a chance I'm wrong. And maybe, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe these guys will see a bunch of shorts coming in at this level, and they decide, you know what, we're gonna approve these ETFs, and for all we know, this thing is going to be sitting at $6,000. Those ETFs are going to get approved, and in one day it's going to go back up to 12 or 13 grand. And if you sold, even if you sold at 6,500, and all of a sudden it jumps up, double in one day, if you're not at your desk to catch it, it may never come back down, right? It may never come back down to those levels. And that's not fear of missing out. It might sound like it on the surface, but the way markets work is typically in a calendar year, statistically, there's 10 days that account for like 90% of the earnings. So if you're not in the market on those 10 days, you're in deep trouble. If you look at 2017, look at this. If you got fancy and said, hey, I'm gonna sell right here and buy back when it crashes, and if you didn't buy back, look at this. In the course of a month, not even a month, in 3 weeks, Bitcoin went up from 5,800 to 20 grand. You know, and I'm sure there were people that, in fact, I know there were people because I was one of them. I had actually sold almost all of my Bitcoin right before this happened. I was expecting it to go back down to 3,500, and it did, and it shot up. Right, it cost me a lot of money. So yeah, I'm not selling any of my whole coins, and I'm not telling anybody else what to do with theirs. You know, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an investment advisor, and obviously, you should always seek professional investment advice before making any type of investment. Remember, when you're watching this video, I'm some guy sitting in a spare bedroom. Okay, please always do your own due diligence and be safe with your money. With all that being said, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you disagree with me, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to see the other side of this thing. The bullish side would make me happy. And if you agree with me, also feel free to leave a comment. You know, comments are always welcome. If you're not already a member of the Facebook group, please feel free to come hang out with myself and 3,700 other cryptocurrency enthusiasts. Hope to see you there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stay strong, and you know, have a great day.